It has been tied to the medium for over the last 60 years and continues to be a staple to anime. Mecha. At this moment in time you have access to Isekai Mecha, Moon Landing Mecha, Cockblock Mecha. You have to know how to do calculus to read the title Mecha and the good old classics. However, it wasn't always like this, so how did it evolve into what it is today? Well, we have to go back. The first use of the word robot comes from Rossum's Universal Robots, a play written by Karel Apik in 1920, where these artificial humanoid creatures worked as laborers to mankind. This laid the groundwork to the mechanical beings seen in current shows. Multiple movies and shows would come out after this, further cementing its place. The existence of mecha in manga and anime in Japan really began in the 1950s to early 1960s, with the publishing of Astro Boy in 1953 and again in 1963 was the first official anime to be released. Though not recognized as a part of the mecha genre, its effect on the audience with a real humanoid mechanical body revolutionized science fiction relevant at the time, as well as pioneering what is known as anime today. Having said that, the manga Tetsujin 28 Go, which was written in 1956 by Mitsudaru Yokoyama, is recognized as the official first series in the mecha genre. The story featured a gigantic robot that a young boy would direct using a remote control. However, the primary demographic of this would be for a younger audience. This set the stage for the concept of piloted robots. The designs of the mechas at this time were much simpler and inspired by early science fiction. They were more clunky and resembled a humanoid robot with boxy limbs and a lack of refined details, being depicted in a metallic color palette. In 1972, the first mecha anime and prototype to all others came out, Mazinger Z, created by Go Nagai aired, which introduced the concept of a pilot-controlled giant robot battling against monstrous villains. The anime is a defining part of the super robot genre. The genre features superhero-like giant robots with an arsenal of fantastic superpowered weapons that are extremely resistant to damage. These mecha were more sleeker, humanoid, and displayed a more diverse, vibrant color range, in addition to their characterization based on their exaggerated weaponry and power. However, this was not the turning point for mecha, but the late 1970s had revolutionized the mecha of the past to what it is today. This came with the creation of Mobile Suit Gundam by Yoshiyuki Tomino and Sunrise Studios. It premiered in 1979, where it portrayed mecha in a completely different light, unlike the others of the time. Mobile Suit Gundam presented a more realistic and militaristic approach. The giant humanoid robots known as mobile suits were depicted as integral military tools used in a gritty interstellar war, exploring darker themes revolving around politics, society, and psychology. This was able to appeal to a more mature audience. This success shifted the whole plot of mecha, introducing complex storytelling and multi-dimensional characters. This is now known as the real robot genre. Now in the 1980s, the realism and real robot subgenre were gaining traction. Shows like Macross and Mobile Suit Gundam were at the forefront of this. The 1980s also brought more diversification of the mecha subgenres. Examples are the super robot genre with Space Runaway Ideon in 1980, even more real robot mecha animes, and the cyberpunk mecha subgenre with Bubblegum Crisis in 1987. The mechas continued to develop with greater detail in realism and artistic detail. The designs featured more smoother contours, enhanced joint mechanisms, and attention to proportions and anatomy. In addition to the creation of transforming mechas with the creation of Robotech in 1985 and Transformers. The 1990s introduced one of the most known mecha anime to date, Neon Genesis Evangelion, in 1995. The anime broke down the archetypes of the traditional mecha genre, looking at the psychological struggles and trauma of the pilots and challenging the idealization of their position as heroes. This again reshaped the formatting and telling of stories in the genre. Now the implementation of computer-generated imagery (CGI) was being widespread in the anime industry, with the diversification of mechas as they took on a wider variety of shapes, sizes, and artistic styles. Instead of being humanoid, some had more abstract designs like the ones featured in the Big O and Fooly Cooly, and the bright contrasting colors along with the textured surfaces became more relevant. And finally, we enter the final period from the beginning of the 21st century to now. This time has encompassed the biggest increase in anime audience, impacting the storytelling, narratives, themes, artistic intention, and global appeal, have allowed for the great number of mecha anime we see today. Furthermore, the reimagining of classic franchises. Though the most significant anime which have come out in this time frame by far would be Gurren Lagann, Code Geass, and the Evangelion Rebuild series. As we stand on the cusp of a new era, it's evident that mecha anime will continue to evolve, adapt, and surprise audiences. Using the culmination of decades of innovation and creativity in the mecha genre, from the early days days of clunky humanoid robots in the 1950s to the sophisticated, psychologically complex narratives of today. This wraps up the journey through the captivating evolution of the mecha genre in anime.